Hi, everybody. Welcome back to In the Cards and Stars. So, this podcast episode is actually a kind of a part two. We are picking back up where we left off with some of the Diddy tea. If you guys already watch on YouTube, the Legality Diddy episode, that was the first time that I co-hosted a true crime tarot tea of sorts with Michael Mogensen, my husband, who's also an amazing lawyer. He's here to break it down for us to help answer some of the questions around all of the legality when it comes to Diddy, because it can be a little confusing. So there are a few things that we weren't able to share in the last episode, in the last video, because that you guys know, if you watched it, there were some audio issues. We're not going to get into that, but here we are to cover some of the more juicy topics that we didn't get to share yet. So let's get into it. I'm going to let Michael take it away. Oh, wait, before I get started, Michael won a case today. So everybody leave a little hand clap emoji, if you will, in the comments, or a flame emoji, because doesn't he look nice as well? Okay, go ahead, honey. Take it away.
We went through the indictment completely on the first episode. Picking up from there, we had gone through the indictment pretty completely, and we were discussing the hearing. The only hearings that have happened so far have been the bond hearings. I've seen all kinds of like just weird commentaries, and you might hear the pups because they like to weigh in too. We have
of course,
3 jurors that run around constantly, and they might want to get involved.
Hey, doll,
little doll wants to get her piece in too. But what we had talked about was the bond hearing, and I had seen some reports that claimed that this was a racial thing, or it could have been just pure speculation about why Combs wouldn't have gotten the bond. And so I kind of wanted to just give you some general principles and go through it and kind of like decipher the truth about that, because a lot of times in significant cases like this, they're not going to be a bond. Federal law is governed by the federal sentencing guidelines. Within those guidelines, it's broken down by criminal history versus the level of different crimes. And they do that to take out of it any prejudice and try to make it so really it's going to be based off the severity level of the crime with a person's criminal history. Then within that context, there are going to be mitigating and aggravating circumstances that can be to move somebody up or down. But there is a general format in the guidelines that apply to everybody. So what I've done is I printed off in lieu of a motion. In this particular judge in the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, has allowed the counsel for both the United States and for Combs to file letters. And so I have the letter that would have been the motion for bond, but it's a letter for bond that was submitted on his behalf. So within that, it's going to address a number of things. And there are facts in here that, if you haven't read it, tell you they've known some things were coming ahead of time, like a little bit ahead of time. And in the other episode, we had discussed that, everybody knows about the warrants that were served in LA and Miami, but that there's, I'm sure, a lot of other subpoenas that have been out on different records and different digital information. And in this, his attorney actually talks about it and names something. He also verifies that the individual who is listed in the indictment in count 2 as the victim 1 is that Cassie guy.
Okay.
So it completely clears it up. Like
if there was any doubt.
And then also the one in count 3 was also
okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
So she's the person.
The person.
So like we had talked about the indictment initially. We thought, he'd been on people's radar, and it was it seemed like her lawsuit probably triggered this, and it now looks like absolutely
it absolutely did.
It absolutely did. And
that's pretty amazing.
What's really interesting in this,
she's a Virgo, by the way.
And I'm going to try to go through this. It's 15
She
pages.
ignores the comment.
Well, yeah,
She just acknowledges it. Really? Okay.
she's Virgo. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
That's all I ask.
Well, the attorney in this actually basically, or not basically, he spells it out that counsel for her prior to the filing of the civil lawsuit had sent or communicated with the firm and indicated that they had a book, essentially a blackmail, saying that he could buy catch and kill a story. I mean, that's it's pretty commonplace when somebody's out doing torrid stuff. But
Wow.
so
Who had this book? Cassie did?
Cassie, so Cassie had
haven't heard this.
I know, this is why it's like,
Guys, breaking news, T.
so it's in here that initially
You gotta be brave enough to read through the whole thing like Michael is.
It's pretty interesting stuff. So we'll get there. So
Okay.
first things first, how do you get a bond on a federal case such as this?
How you get a bond?
So initially cases like this are heard by a magistrate. A magistrate is a lower level federal judge, and anything that's decided by a magistrate can be appealed, what's called de novo, which is Latin term meaning from the beginning, to an actual district judge. So if the magistrate rules the way you want, you just go with it and the case moves forward. In this case, the magistrate did not grant bond. And so this letter that I have here from Combs' attorney is the appeal to the actual district judge, the circuit judge. Okay. And so that's what it is. And so that judge's name is Andrew Carter, and he is an actual district judge. So the district judge then looks at what the crime is, the level of the crime, and the allegations contained therein. And then you also look at a number of other topics. Flight risk is a huge one, and that's one that I think initially, I was like, well, that makes sense that they wouldn't give him a bond because he is a flight risk. We talked about this, so I'll just kind of go over it fast because we had to cut it out of the one that had the bad audio. The United States has a number of treaties for extradition all across the world, but there are.
Can I just preface it with the question? The question
Sure.
that we had to cut out of the last one was I had seen a headline that, and I wasn't sure if how valid this is. We're all seeing a lot of clickbait, a lot of thumbnails, but I did think this was an interesting thing to just kind of explore. I saw a headline claiming that Jennifer Lopez allegedly was fleeing the country because she didn't want to be subpoenaed or, wrapped into this in any way. And I asked Michael, would that be a strategy that someone like J-Lo or Jay-Z or Ashton Kutcher or any of these people who have been friends with Diddy or Justin Bieber, would this be something that they could do? Could they say, oh, I'm going on a vacation to try to avoid subpoena? So then that's how we kind of got into this question. So.
Right. And there's a number, like, I forgot about that because we cut the whole conversation.
We had to cut the whole thing.
About Lopez and the incident from 1999.
That was really interesting. I wanted us to talk about that because most people know about that one. Yeah.
Okay. And just quick refresher, going back again, in 1999, Jennifer Lopez was charged. Diddy was charged, and so was the rapper Shine, I believe.
Yep.
And for a shooting that took place at a nightclub. And in that particular instance, Jennifer Lopez carried the firearm in her bag. It was Diddy's gun, illegally into the club. Diddy got acquitted. So he went to jury trial. He got acquitted, but that was because Shine took the fall and bit the bullet, and he got a 10-year sentence on that, and then did the time and then got deported because he was from Belize, so he wasn't a citizen. So they are free and clear. But talking about subpoenas for either the grand jury, which has already taken place. Obviously, she's not, or she may have been subpoenaed. I don't think she was for that. But as they go forward here, if they expand this investigation, and by I don't know, I would assume that it would expand.
It seems like it already is based on some more things that were coming out today.
Yeah, and I saw that as I think of today, there are 9 different lawsuits now that have been filed within the last year. So I imagine it's going to expand since a lot of the information is coming from these various civil lawsuits that have come out. What was that? What the heck was that talking
Oh, you were talking
about?
about
Jennifer Lopez.
extradition
Yeah.
and also what you learned when you were at Oxford and all that stuff. We had to cut that from the last one.
Okay.
That was really interesting.
So that's a preface about extradition and stuff.
Someone tried to leave to get away from the drama.
In 2016, I was part of a group that got to participate at Oxford University in the first extradition seminar that dealt with the EU, which the European Union, which was pretty new at the time, and how it would work for extradition to the United States, to other countries that are under Interpol and red notices, those kinds of things. And so it was a wonderful conference, and I got to go to Oxford, and there were 4 of us from the United States, and it was fascinating. So with attorneys from all over the EU, and in that we talked about different extradition issues. And one thing that I started to talk about, Diddy being a flight risk. And so initially I thought, well, he's probably a flight risk, even though he's famous, he'll have the funds to either go to a country we don't have a treaty with, or there are countries that will not, even if we have the treaty, they will not agree to send somebody back if they don't agree with the penalty. And the most famous or well-known case like that is Julian Assange, who the WikiLeaks, and his attorney actually was with me at the conference, Mark Summers, from a barrister from London. And so we got into that at the conference, and eventually, in order for the United States case against Assange to be resolved, the United States had to agree not to seek the death penalty for the espionage, or the UK would have never sent him back. And they're like one of our best allies with a treaty that goes back.
Wow.
So you can find countries that if you don't agree with that, if they don't authorize the same type of sentence for the same type of activity, where you could go hide, even though we have an extradition with them. So when you're talking about people who are looking at life sentences or death sentences for sure, it's not, almost everybody has some incentive to get out of the jurisdiction. And if they get out of the jurisdiction and Interpol doesn't help, or there is no treaty that's going to be enforced, they just hang out.
Wow.
And they just have to stay there, which, like, again, Assange, I think Assange was in the Ecuadorian embassy in London for, I believe it was 8 years. I don't remember what it ended up, but the whole, like, during the time,
basically that's like living in a prison.
Right. And we stayed next to the embassy in Rome. And so the U.S. embassy.
Embassies are beautiful, but you won't want to live there for 8 years.
But they're essentially like, a little more than a city block.
Yeah.
And, guards and armed guards walking the streets and everything. So that's where he was, but in the London one for Ecuador.
Dang. And you really didn't want to face the music.
Correct. And
allegedly.
And so initially I thought, well, it makes sense that Combs wouldn't get a bond because he's a flight risk. So the attorney,
he's so wealthy and he could easily set up.
He got his own plane too.
Yeah.
And so his attorney does a really good job of taking that argument away from the government. And he talks about how not only has he surrendered his passport to his attorney. He did that back in April. In addition, they added, and I thought this was really interesting that I haven't seen before, they also surrendered and this is not in April, this was later in, I want to say June, they surrendered the passports to his mother, his kids, and the mothers of his children, which was really strange.
It's giving criminal family.
Right. It was really strange to me. It was almost like,
I wish I had the little music to play, the mob music.
They were pulling those out.
Yeah.
Because
they knew
there might be some charges come down within the family.
Yeah.
And now government hasn't taken that, but it's laid out in the bond motion or letter that this law firm actually is in possession of the passports of essentially all of the Combs family. In fact, it lists them all. So,
Okay, can I ask you a question?
sure.
So right now, Michael and I are watching a show that we absolutely love on Apple TV called Monkey,
Mad Monkey.
Bad Monkey. Okay, and basically,
Vince Vaughn.
if you haven't seen it yet, you got to see it.
Vegas, baby, Vegas.
It's so good. Yeah, Vince Vaughn's in it. But okay, so here's my question. So let's say that Diddy was like the couple who is on the run on this show. And you know how they fly just that little puddle jumper plane and they go from Florida to whatever island, I forgot what the island's called, which one it is, and they go to the island and then they could essentially go from there. They don't need a passport. So could it be that the government still wanted to, hold him because all right, Diddy's so he's trying to make this look good, but he's smart. He's gotten away with things for a really long time. I could see him not necessarily needing a passport if he never
Sure.
plans to come back to the US
Sure.
or if he plans to start just, live on this island that he purchased and underground get stuff
Sure,
sent
sure.
there.
Like that people are smuggled and moved around
Right?
the world all the time. That's
Right?
kind of what human trafficking is.
Yeah,
And
he's gonna
so
traffic himself,
he could
allegedly.
be trafficked somewhere without a passport for sure.
Uh-huh.
He's so recognizable.
I
It would
thought.
have to be somewhere
Where he's paying everybody
he's
off
paying everybody to protect him, probably paying the local law enforcement.
yeah.
Those kinds of things.
But allegedly, he was even doing that in the United States. That's one of the things that we'll see if that, comes to light, if there's any truth to that. We don't know.
So what's interesting is the attorney for Combs in this particular document is they lay out a bond, their proposed
Mhm.
package for bond, and I'll kind of go through that too. But within that, then he talks about and just gives a history of it. That's really it's very much, I think, probably it's for the judge, but it's also for the public a little bit.
Okay.
And so within it, he does a really good job of taking away the flight risk issue. Um, they talk about he's trying to sell his house or sell his airplane, and that they've actually got a contract for it to be sold.
Hmm.
They talk about that his house in Miami is the house that they were going to put up for the bond. It has an appraisal value of $48 million. And because they knew something was coming about a month before the arrest, he pays $18 million to pay off the mortgage. And in the letter, he says that they did that only so that they would be able to put that house up for bond. So clearly there was some inside information. And obviously, the search warrants at the homes were done in March. And so,
And when was the mortgage paid off?
and the mortgage was paid off, though, 1 month before the actual arrest. And so
Okay, so he had already known
he knew that
his
they were
house had been
investigating him.
raided,
Yep.
all that. Okay, so that makes some sense
It
there.
makes sense. But prior to the homes being raided, or really there being any public knowledge that there was an investigation, this counsel, this law firm, says that they were engaged to represent him, and they started reaching out to the assistant U.S. attorneys to share information before the search warrants went out and before the homes were raided. And so they list multiple times where they emailed the prosecutors ahead of the search warrants at the homes clear back in March. So somebody tipped them off. My assumption is somebody tipped him off, or he got word somehow that there was an investigation, and it was the search warrants were served on March 25th, 2024. And their first contact with the U.S. attorneys were March 13th. So 12 days and almost 2 weeks in advance, he had a heads up that something was coming.
Oh my!
And so if you had the heads up,
That's
you think what items they found 12 days later are what was left. So they had 12 days to get things moving at the minimum, because he had engaged counsel for this by March 13th when they're reaching out to the U.S. attorney.
I know you're on a roll. Can I jump in?
Sure.
I have not heard anyone else say that. First of all, Michael, thank you for looking into it and lining up the dates. I have not heard commentary on that from anyone else. I think that is wild. And as a lay person, so I'm not I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not commenting like as a professional, but as a lay person, as someone who knows people, I find it even more suspicious and strange that he would already have his counsel reaching out to prosecutors. It looks to me like someone who's a professional criminal, someone who's used to operating in this way, someone who's trying to get 10 steps ahead of law enforcement at all times, stay ahead of the law and try to sidestep it, and someone who thinks that they're able to do that. And that is so scary. And I think it's amazing that that they kept him, because he's definitely the type of person that I would think would be able to figure their way out of things if anybody could. That's wild to me.
Well, and I agree with you.
Wow.
We didn't do any of the disclaimers. I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
giving. I don't know anybody in this case. I haven't been hired by anybody in this case. Everything I'm reading or talking about is public knowledge, or it's
and I'm just a lady, okay?
or it's from experiences from cases that I've worked before, and I'm telling stories, or I'm definitely not giving legal advice.
You're just chatting with us in our kitchen.
Yeah, we're just
literally
shooting the breeze here.
And you guys know we just spill the tea here, so we're just chit chatting and thinking.
The legality.
The legality.
What you call it?
Tea. Yeah, if we started a podcast, it would be called the Legali-TEA with the Wilkinsons.
Good comedy.
Anyway,
so
I think that's scary. Oh, can I ask one more thing?
Ask anything.
Is
it's your
it?
Show.
I know, but you're on a roll, and I know you're you have a train of thought, and it's a lot of information, so I don't want to you know what I mean, get you off course. But another thing that came to mind, and I don't know if this is is this legal or illegal? Let's say this is going on, and let's say I have a friend, and I work in the side of the law. So I do something, and I hear that my friend is going to get investigated. Am I allowed to let them know 2 weeks before? Is it illegal?
It's improper.
It's improper, but is it illegal?
I don't know that. I don't know. It
should be illegal.
Any laws would have been broken. I don't know. I don't know the circumstance of and again,
because that alone is suspicious to me.
I don't have any information other than what is in his counsel's letter, who is citing emails and communications with him with the U.S. Attorney's Office 12 days before the searches. And within this letter, he said the attorney represents that he sent messages saying he represented Combs, wanted to talk to him and share information about Mr. Combs, and got no response. He sends another message 5 days later, March 18th, again gets no response. And then a week later, there's actually the raids on both of the homes.
Okay.
So I don't have any information to believe it. I just think this smells like to me that somebody gave him the information. He knew it was coming down, or that something was coming down and he was being investigated. And a little bit of what you were talking about, it's kind of a flex to have your attorneys go in and try to contact the U.S. attorneys before they've let anybody know what's afoot, and say hey, we know what y'all are doing. You want to talk to us about it yet? Or you're not going to talk to us? I'll send you another email here in 5 days. You want to talk to us about it now? I mean, it's a gangster move.
And allegedly he's a gangster.
I mean, really, that's a little bit of a flex. It's you're trying to keep something secret. We know about it.
Although we're not on his side in any way.
No, but I'm just saying, I'm just,
You're saying that's definitely a show of.
This is what's in the bond request.
Okay, and then one more question on that train of thought. Okay, so it's a flex to kind of be ahead of it. It was interesting that his lawyer, this was the first day, or not, the first day that this was all kind of going down, right after Diddy's arrest, the morning after. His lawyer was already saying things what we've been very cooperative and da 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 da. And it was the assistant attorney general, or who is it?
His assistant ADA had a great line about the I don't have the quote. I wish I did because I'll butcher it.
I know we were talking about it.
I actually had a hearing a couple of weeks ago when that statement came out, and he said we've been cooperating with him, and the response by the U.S. attorney was, how people have changed the definition of the word cooperation so much that it really doesn't have any contextual meaning. And
yes.
And I was in the middle of a case where
so you're not fleeing us, but I mean,
but cooperation is what he's doing is definitely not cooperation under the law. Within that sentencing guidelines that we kind of touched on before, one of the mitigating factors a defendant can have if they are getting sentenced is, did you cooperate with the government?
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of things you can do to cooperate with the government. Not contest the charges, give information on other things. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do.
I bet he was trying to flip like a steak.
He's definitely not doing that.
No, on the other people.
Like, well, he's the top of the heap, so there's nobody to flip on.
Whoops.
And so
should have thought of that before, did he?
to try to use the word cooperation, it's very loosely used because it does not meet the definition under the guidelines of what would constitute cooperation. That's what the ADA made a funny, or the USA assistant made a funny comment about. So
I was trying to find the quote, but there's a lot.
I'm
not finding it. Yeah.
So again, so now we're at March 25, and they served the search warrants. So everybody knows about that. Now the cat's out of the bag, and the attorney complains a little bit about how heavy-handed it was that they brought in these automatic weapons. And here I am as the attorney. I've talked to you. I've messaged you twice, and you've not responded to me. So you're going to show up at my guys' houses with guns drawn, and you're going to point guns at these children. Which
there were children there.
His kids were there, and
they probably didn't point the guns at the kids.
Well, here's the quote from the line: says the searches of the residence were unusually public and particularly heavy-handed. The agents had assault rifles trained on the heads and the chests of his children, who were then handcuffed and brought before news cameras and a press helicopter. That's one sentence. So
interesting.
Like I said earlier,
how old were the children though? Are they minors or are these his adult children?
I don't know.
Because allegedly his adult children were part of the criminal enterprise. Well, I don't know. Don't let the attorney make you too soft on him. I think they did it because they knew he had tons of guns and they were all filed off. They all had the numbers filed off. I'm anti-Diddy, in case you guys were confused.
I'm definitely not pro.
Michael's neutral.
I'm just reading.
And Michael's so good at being neutral and non-emotional. That's part of what makes a great lawyer.
So, anyway,
I'm the unhinged one.
We digress.
We digress so much. Sorry, go on, please.
So, this particular paragraph in a bond letter, where if you got to kind of understand the way this works, you're before the court. And in particular this, where you've appealed the magistrate, so it's already been ruled against you one time. You need to be humble. Like, you humble yourself before the court, and you explain why I'm not a threat, why I will not run, why I'm not a danger, why I will not violate the law. That's what you do.
Yeah.
And you have to be genuine and convincing in it. This ain't that. Like, when you're flexing, how rough and heavy-handed the feds were. Like, well, you're right. This paragraph, I think, in my humble opinion, was for the press to try to get some sympathy for him.
So that we're all like, oh my gosh, how awful.
So in these first two paragraphs under history of the investigation, under this first two paragraphs under the history of the investigation, the first paragraph was kind of a flex saying, I've contacted you. I know you're investigating. I've contacted you. You've ignored me. I'm trying to communicate with you. The next thing is, oh my God.
It was horrible.
Yeah. I'm getting the vapors.
The women and children were crying.
You came and busted up, and oh my God forbid there was news cameras there. Anyway, so then right after that is when counsel announces, and he's got numbered paragraphs. First numbered paragraph is that he took his passport from Combs on April 1st of 2024. Okay, that's a good move by the attorney. Smart, because now he's taken away from the government the opportunity to argue that he's a flight risk. By legal means. Again, we've already talked
unless
about
you watch the Monkeys on Apple TV, you know.
We've talked about the trafficking
and alleged drug traffickers.
You can still hide and
grab a puddle jumper, you know what I mean?
And whatnot. Okay, but legally traveling, he couldn't do that.
Sure, okay.
And then they go on to say the next thing they have numbered here is they, in fact, made the government aware of all the times that he traveled domestically. And they have a number of little trips that he took within the United States, that he took his kids to California and they did a road trip. He flew to Wyoming
Too little,
in the
too
dates,
late.
and he then went to Los Angeles and a couple other things. And then
Kept
apparently,
it squeaky clean for a year.
and apparently, well,
Allegedly.
not even a year. This was March. This is subsequent to March.
Oh, he took a freak off break for 3 months.
So
Sorry.
we don't know that part. I'm just talking about these little trips
I'm sorry.
that are in June, one in July with his kids. And so
he was telling the court, like, we're doing this now, we're doing that, trying to play nice and hoping that they're going to look kindly upon him.
The point of it is, the firm is telling the United States attorney to take away the argument that he will run.
Got it.
That's all of this is, because what you're trying to establish with the court is that I am not a flight risk. And here are all the reasons why I am not a flight risk. So now we're still going to more things. Why am I not a flight risk?
Okay.
Now it's when we talked about selling the airplane, how he's tried to sell the airplane a number of times. He's had a couple of people sign letters of intent that they've fallen through, but his plane is now got a letter of intent and they expect the sale to go through. That counsel has agreed to leave and house the airplane in Los Angeles. So it will not be, and his request was that he only be at the house in Miami or in New York for court. So he was going to limit himself to those two areas. So LA was going to now be out. I believe, just from the context clues in here, it's probably because Cassie is in LA. And so
you're still being a scumbucket.
And so that's what I
the constant maneuvering.
What I think is where she is why they're limiting, they want to eliminate LA. And when I say they, his own attorneys are saying, "Whoa, we're not going to LA. We're not going to LA." So
we'll put the plane there and we'll make it look like we're actually being cooperative, and we don't want to be in LA because the plane is there and we're not even going to be near the plane. So we're not a flight risk.
We're not going to use it. We can't use it.
Right. We can't use it. When in reality, also there's another layer of that, which is I want to stay out of LA because that's where Cassie is. So the manipulation that this man and the ability
he could never go
play chess constantly, mental chess, it is scary.
Well, then it's just a comical thing.
Criminal mastermind vibes.
What's a comical thing is I can, in my mind's eye, I can imagine the attorney writing this and he's like, okay, the plane is in LA. Awesome.
Perfect.
We're going to leave it there.
We got this
and that. And he's like, hey, will somebody call and verify where the plane is? And they call, and I shit you not. Am I not supposed to say that?
That's okay.
I kid you not. That day, the plane had been chartered and flown from Los Angeles to Teterboro in New Jersey.
Wait,
which is right across the river. From where this is all taking place.
Wait, what?
So I am certain that the attorney was like, "Are you shitting me?" Like,
so they had to.
So they have to explain it. So
yeah.
His plane is actually the type of private plane. He's not in charge of it all the time. It's available for charter, and under the federal regs, it's what's called a Part 135 plane. And that's a private plane that can be chartered by the general public.
Is that a way to like rent it out to make some money back or something?
Yeah. And this particular charter, they have to spell out that he had no say in it. He had no control on it. And it was somebody else that did it. Anyway, it's kind of a funny thing that they had to put that in there.
Because it was scheduled to fly to Teterboro when that was one of their big things.
Not scheduled. It landed there.
It actually landed?
Yeah. It is an actual flight. On the day of the hearing.
Are you joking me?
From Los Angeles to Teterboro, and they're there before the court.
Well, that wrecks their credibility.
He's not going to run. I don't know why that plane's sitting
the plane. Oops.
On the tarmac over there.
Okay, anyway, that's bad.
So I just
that's kind of funny.
I laughed at that part.
And that's what we call quirky karma.
Like, okay, what? So then it talks about the next thing is that Combs was down in Miami. They figured that there was an indictment coming as of September 5th. So just timelining it. The contact was first made in early March. The warrants got served on the homes in March 25th. Then you're giving up your passport April 1st. You're going on trips domestically. During that time, it turns out there are a number of his business records were all being subpoenaed too, and so he obviously knew about that. And but they don't know when the grand jury is actually operating because that's a secret. But he pays off the house in full on August 20th. On September 5th, 2024, he relocates to New York.
Wow.
And the attorney in this request for the bond says he did that so when the indictment comes that hadn't come yet, they're going to be ready to just turn themselves in. He wants the attorney wants to be able to say, we turned ourselves in. Well, they didn't cooperate. And when I say the government didn't cooperate and allow him to go turn himself in. They apparently actually went and arrested him. And that pissed the attorney off. And he says they only did that so that they could argue that he didn't turn himself in, but that he moved to New York. And it even tells you that he was staying at the Park Hyatt through the 17th, and except he couldn't extend his stay because they already had other reservations. So then he moved to the Carlisle, and that's where he was until he was arrested when the indictment came down.
So I bet that's quite a different vibe from his current residence, like in Legally Blonde. This residence, Dewey Newcomb.
This particular detaining center facility is notoriously one of the worst in the country.
I saw that online.
And
I was like,
and there's some funny stuff in here that there are several cases where federal judges have said, I'm sentencing you to jail. However, if you have to do any other time at this particular facility, I am going to resentence you and allow you to go to home detention because it's cruel and unusual. Because it's so shitty.
Okay, so before we go, we are going to, of course, spill a little bit of tarot tea on the situation. And I want to get more into his current,
situation,
place of residence, his current situation, how he's doing right now as we speak. And Michael, I know you have some Legali-TEA to inform what I'll be pulling cards on. So please share with us.
All right. So this is cutting to the last page of the bond request letter. And it talks about why he should not be housed in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn just because of how horrible it is. And they have a number of cases listed here. So here are some of the notes that have to do with this particular facility.
And this is where he's at right now. As we speak.
This is what he's living, baby. Get on it. Okay. He needs some of that baby oil and whatever else they found. Okay.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to edit that.
So why? That's fun. I mean, that's what they found and everybody knows it. No. Okay. It says, finally, several courts in the district have recognized that the conditions at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn are not fit for pretrial detention. Just earlier this summer, an inmate was murdered. At least 4 inmates have died by suicide there in the past 3 years. Numerous courts in this district have raised concerns with the horrific conditions of detention there. And then it lists a case where, and quotes that says, describing the conditions at MDC as dreadful and long-standing, and noting that the issues with the food contamination and hazardous physical conditions were an ongoing tragedy. Let's see. Another case describing the MDC as dirty, infested with drugs, and plagued by violence.
What? Who's running this place?
Described overcrowding, staffing issues, and lockdowns at MDC. And then describing MDC conditions as disgusting and inhumane, and anything I've heard about the Columbia prison, but more so inhumane is anything I've heard about the Columbia prison, but more so because we're supposed to be better than that. And these are all quotes out of various cases.
Okay.
Let's see. Here's more. Then another court. The court noted that it was worried that MDC's conditions as one of the reasons for sentencing the defendant to a non-custodial sentence. Another one, sentencing a defendant to 9 months in prison, but ordering that if the BOP, which is the Bureau of Prisons, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, designated the defendant to the MDC, the court would vacate the sentence and resentence to home incarceration. So that's where he is currently, a little bit different than the mansion at 2 West whatever Island,
And
Miami, America.
And who decides where he was sent? Because I'm sure he didn't want to be sent there, of all places.
So usually that's by contract with the particular court, like I talked about before, where when I represented the private prison, we had a contract with the Western District of Missouri to house all their pretrial detainees, and also with the district court for the state of Kansas. So we housed all of those from the federal courts in Wichita, Kansas City, Topeka, Kansas City on the Missouri side, Springfield, Columbia on over.
And some of the stories you'll be hearing later on in October.
We had some bad characters.
Okay, so let's pull a couple of cards before we let everybody go. Let's see. So
how's he living? How's he liking that filet mig cockroach?
Gross. It's funny because he's
prison food.
Funny because he's a bad person, and it's like,
it's funny because it's
Michael,
funny.
Careful.
Hey, pull a card, dear. You want me to pull one?
You can't rush intuition. 6 of Pentacles, gifts. Are people able to bring him gifts in prison, or bring him things?
No.
Are people able to slip him things or bring him things?
Oh, he's probably got something slipped. Woo!
Don't ruin my video. I don't want to edit this.
Don't edit it, babe. It's solid gold already. This is what the people pay for.
This is the membership. This is
Okay.
our general pop tea
I'm
timers.
sorry. I apologize.
I know I have the giggles. Okay, 6 of Pentacles. He's trying to get gifts. He's trying to get people to bring him things. Not that. Let me finish this. You know how people can bring you like a magazine or a toothbrush,
It's a little different there.
Or how are people able to get drugs in there? Allegedly,
in body cavities or crooked guards.
He's trying to get a crooked guard. I mean, he's trying to bribe and get people to give him some stuff. He wants to put a Wii game thing in his cell or something. Yeah, allegedly. No, 6 of Pentacles. This is clearly as he's been doing, allegedly. Bribing, whatever. He's trying. He will never stop. He is who he is. He's trying to see if he can get a little upgrade to the suite without the maggots.
Gotta be careful.
Okay.
You gotta make sure you never get out on bond.
Why?
I mean, if you get caught for contraband in their pretrial detainee, you're definitely not going anywhere.
Maybe he's just trying to get like an In-N-Out burger or something. No. The report I read said maggots in the food. Yeah. Horrible. How do you even eat it all? You just get so skinny and starve? Yeah. I would.
Get to working out.
Okay.
You gotta do your dips.
You gotta eat food, though.
And your burpees.
What else? So he's trying.
Prison strong, baby.
So he's trying. He's trying to see if he can get a little something in there. Financially or benefits otherwise. What else? Yeah, you pull one. Let's see if we can make him a tea timer. Okay. Pull whichever one you want.
My eyes is closed.
Let's see if Michael does he have the gift.
Definitely.
You do. Look, show the card.
I don't know what
8 of Swords. Look, it's the jail card. Look. You have the gift. I knew we were soulmates. Of course, you're also able to read tarot.
That's pretty funny.
Oh, I am like taken aback, dear. He's a psychic too, and he just doesn't know it.
A sidekick. Oh wait, what did you say? Psychic.
A sidekick. He's a psychic.
I'm a sidekick.
Psychic. 8 of Swords. I mean,
that's one to wrap it up on.
This, yeah, we're gonna wrap it up on this. This does not get more literal. I love when the tarot tea is just spilling it. Yeah, the 8 of Swords.
That's pretty funny.
It's not funny. That's crazy. There are 72 cards, I believe.
You're a witch, honey.
I know.
Witch, please.
A good witch. Oh yeah, witch, please. That's a story for another time.
Love you.
I don't even know where I'd tell y'all about that story because
sign off
like a vlog. Okay, let me finish this. Jesus Christ.
I'm so slap happy.
I know you are. Okay, so 8 of Swords. Basically, this is my card of being in a prison of your own mind. That's usually what this is. This is when you're struggling psychologically with things that, like, this is basically like your demons are coming out. Like, I'm talking panic attacks. I'm talking like, like the worst, honestly, just the worst of the worst. Um, Whereas the 9 of Swords is about things that are actually going on in your life that are stressing you out. The 8 of Swords could be more like even starting to have hallucinations, mental health problems, like really deteriorating. Okay. Also, 8 has to do with feeling with power. 8 is the numerology number of power, obviously, feeling powerless. This person also has a blindfold on, feeling blind, unaware of what's going to happen in the future, feeling like they have no idea what's going on, completely powerless. But because Diddy's actually physically in a prison, this is also referring to the fact that he is in prison and he is feeling all
Not
the
in
things
prison. He's in
you would. I'm
pretrial
sorry.
detention.
He is behind bars, though.
There you go. There are
He is behind bars. Thank you.
probably really some heavy doors, but
Oh,
same. There's not really bars anymore.
really?
They're more like enclosed rooms with heavy doors that have a little window and
they
a
can't
tray.
see out?
I guess there's a window about yay big.
I feel like I'd rather have bars so I could see out.
Yeah, there's no fresh air probably.
Ew,
Not in our facility there was.
that's horrible. I'm getting claustrophobic just thinking about it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, he's feeling like that too.
Don't mess up, dear.
Well, I don't plan. I wouldn't. I have no designs on that. I just want to read my tea and save the dogs. Okay, here you go. There we go. And be the wifey.
Love you.
For lifey. Okay, there you go, guys. That's what's going on. Obviously, all the things you would imagine. We are slap happy because it again is later tonight.
Yeah.
But this was fun. I love spilling the tea with you guys. I love spilling the tea with you. Please leave your comments below. Let us know what you guys think. And of course, what
subscribe, hit the bell,
crime.
do some things.
Yeah, share it with your friends. And listen to this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And please leave a review over there if you haven't yet. It really helps the channel grow. And we just got on the charts in Denmark, I believe it's number 63. That's the highest yet. So if you're listening from Denmark, oh my gosh.
How to do?
Thank you so much. I love you. Thanks for being here, guys. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, Michael. You have to come up with a sign off.
Oh, I just waved.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Solid gold.
Signing off. Bye, guys.